Hey there, welcome to another episode of Moandain Designs. I'm your host Moandain. This video is part of my Tips and Tricks series, and today we will be talking about how to display your collection. As a video game collector, I have a large collection, and I really want to be able to display it. I want to have easy access to it and be able to, gain access to it whenever I want. The issue is right now I just don't have the room in the house to go through and build the game room the way that I want to, so I've spent quite a bit of time planning things out and drawing schematics of rooms and various things like that. So I wanted to share with you some of the tips that I've come up with and some of the things that I'm going to be using in the near future to protect my collection and still have it easily accessible, so that not only can I appreciate it and look at it, but I can also pull it down off the wall, pop it into the system, and play. So my first thing is UV protectors. I buy UV protectors for some of my more expensive games. There are a few of my games that are actually in these protectors. I don't put every game in the protectors just because I don't really have that kind of money right now, and I would even with the money that I do get for being able to do projects like this, I would see it better spent elsewhere. Like getting a larger CRT television, or getting a larger LCD television, or purchasing another game, or purchasing another system. So, I purchased enough to basically try to protect any game that I have that's in about excess of $100 in value. Or if it's a game that I love and I want to keep it nice. The next thing is shelving, and this is a big thing across everywhere. Everyone's got their own methods and their own ways that they do things and stuff. And then some people go on Craigslist and get old shelves and bookshelves and things, and to each their own. However, I always felt that bookshelves are a little too deep, and that the DVD pre-made shelves are not exactly what I need. I've got to accommodate a wide variety of things. Anywhere from the tall box 3DO games, which are probably some of the tallest ones that I have, all the way down to my 3DS games, or stuff like that. Now, I'm not in the habit of recasing games and taking things out of like a classic tall box like a Sega Saturn game, recasing it in a DVD. However, I do, if I don't have a case for those games, I will actually create a cover and print it off or find it online, and then I will put it in a DVD case and try to still keep it nice that way. I'm not in the habit of changing the original form factor of its case. I'm also just not for trying to use boxes that are not intended for long-term storage to store my games. So, I don't really keep Super Nintendo boxes. I trade them away to friends and stuff. But back to the original issue is shelving. With everything that everybody else does. I've come up with more or less features that I want. I definitely want the shelves to be adjustable. I want them to be sturdy. I want them to be like wood, like just a solid pine. I don't want particle board or MDF or anything like that. And I need them to be 6 inches deep. That's deep enough for holding basically anything and everything. And it's just a good depth. It does really well for everything. It does well for the universal game cases. And the adjustable shelves make it so that when your collection shrinks or grows, depending on if you're selling, buying, or trading, that you can adjust your shelves. And that's a big thing for me, is I'd like to be able to adapt my shelving to my collection instead of trying to adapt my collection to my shelving. Um, the uh, the other big thing is front facing versus bookend. Not a lot of people talk about this. I see it in some people's walls where they basically front face something where you get to see the wider version of the cover and stuff like that. And that's great. It's good for any kind of like super rare games or anything like that. But it's really wasteful on space. I used to work in a video store, Blockbuster, back in the day when I was growing up, and we front faced everything, and that was just so it would be attractive and things like that. But when we inventoried or when we had to move stuff around, we bookended everything, where it's just basically the spine is sticking out. My personal choice is that I'm actually going to go with bookending because um, I'm not rich. I don't have a huge house, and my game room is not going to be completely enormous. So, in order to save space, I'm going to bookend things. The next thing is lighting. I don't really see a lot of people go into lighting. Um, some people like to do lighting on their shelves, which is optional. I think it looks great. It definitely makes your collection stand out. And, I just like the way that it looks. Again, it's a little bit on the expensive side. It can make your power bill go up. It can maybe heat up a room if depending on the LEDs and the strength of the light that you get and stuff like that. So, I mean, and you're exposing your collection to light. So there's that to factor in as well. I'm probably not going to do it just because of the cost, but some of the other factors also had a hand in it. But the main factor was just cost. Um, Not to say that you shouldn't do it, but just not for me. Uh, and I hit on this one a little bit earlier with the DVD media shelves. They're really good. They handle things very well. They're fairly cheap and don't require a whole lot of work. I've actually adapted an old DVD media shelf as a shelf for my handhelds, and I went a little overboard with it, and just went all out. I even filled in the adjustable holes and waxed them over with black wax so that you can't really see them, and put LED lights in and stuff. And I'm actually going to be going over that device and showing it, possibly as the first episode next year. Um, but you know, personally, I'm going to go with building myself some shelves. It's not really that hard. I'm going to be using some good pine that's 1 by 8. I wish I could find 1 by 6, but 1 by 6 is true measurement is 5.5 inches, and I've got to have at least 6 inches deep so that I can get the collection looking right and not push too far back and not push too far forward where they're hanging over the edge. I want to be able to push them back and try to keep most of the dust off of them, but still be able to see them properly. Well, that's it for this episode of Moandain Designs. I'm your host, Moandain. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed making it. If you like what you see, you can support me and my channel on Patreon by clicking one of the links below. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.